You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't going to be that fun. Friday, yes it is. We made it to another week. College football week 4. Well, our prognosticating is probably not the best in the world. There used to be an old publication down here in Georgia called Leonard's Losers. And Leonard Losers would pick the losers in all these games. Well, so it looks like for the most part, James, Chip, and I, we pick, we end up losing most of the time. But anyway, back at it again. Chip Lake's with us today on Friday's Finest, again with James. And got a lot to discuss. Going to have some fun. Besides the football and besides the other things we talk about, today we're also going to talk. I mean, we got Maury Povich. We've got lost airplanes, and we have lost legislation. Not sure which is the most important here, but we'll figure it out. Glad to have you with us. Just after the break, it's Friday's Finest with me and Chip and James.
Hey, folks, when you look out and you see the country and just the disarray it is, you see the Biden administration, you see the wholesale prices have just went through the roof again. Inflation is tearing us up. If you have your finances all impinged in just a few areas, if you're just in stocks and bonds and you're not diversified, I got some news for you. You need a navigator. You need somebody to help you get to where you need to go with those finances. And I can't think of anybody better to do that than my friends at Legacy Precious Metals. You need precious metals in that portfolio. You need gold and silver. And Legacy Precious Metals, the folks there, they're the navigators. They know how to deal with tough times. They know and how to look ahead and take your personal situation and make it something that can be workable for you in the long term. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's the one you're most concerned about. You need to make sure that your personal finances and your retirement are secure. You need folks like Legacy Precious Metals helping you in that. They will take the time to learn you. They'll learn your finances. They'll learn where your investment goals are, and they'll help you get there. And metals and gold right now, in this kind of crazy inflation, in this kind of crazy economy with the Biden's economy, is just, you need that help. And Legacy Precious Metals is the one to do that. So give Legacy Precious Metals a call, 866-528-1903, 866-528-1903, or you can always visit them online at legacypminvestments.com, and you can download their free investor's guide. Legacy Precious Metals, they're the ones you need. They're the navigators to help you through these turbulent times.
Hey everybody, it's MyPillow's 20th year anniversary, and over 80 million MyPillows have been sold. Mike Lindell and MyPillow wants to thank each of you and every one of you for giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. You will receive a queen-size MyPillow for $19.98. Regular price is $69.98, and just $10 more for a king size. You will receive deep discounts on all MyPillow products, such as bed sheets, mattress toppers, pet beds, mattresses, my slippers, and so much more. This is a time to try out something other than the amazing products that you've had your eye on. Go to mypillow.com, click on the radio podcast square, and use the promo Collins, Collins, to receive this amazing offer on the queen size MyPillow for $19.98, or call 800-986-3994. This offer comes with a 10-year warranty and 60-day money-back guarantee. It's time to start getting the quality sleep you deserve. You know how I know that? Because I sleep on a MyPillow every night. Go to mypillow.com and use promo code Collins, Collins, or call 800-986-3994 today. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the Doug Collins Podcast. It is Friday. We have a special guest. Yes, she hasn't seen me all week, so Cree is making an appearance here on the podcast today. Hey, everybody to Cree. Cree has made multiple nationwide appearances, as our guest today, Chip Lake, can attest to from campaigns previously. She had to make her appearance. Good morning, Chip. Glad to have you with us on Friday's Finest.
Good morning, Doug, and good morning, Cree. It's good to see Cree again. It's been too long.
It has. She has to get in there. And by the way, our Texan, by the way, of New Jersey, yes, we do have the famous, the world famous, is you still heat stroke, James. How we doing, buddy?
Beautiful. I was telling Chip off the air that the weather is below 100,000 degrees, so we're doing great.
No midnight basketball this week. You might get out.
Actually, that's funny you said that. 2 days ago, I played. I think I beat up on a couple of 16-year-olds. It didn't feel great. but they worked me. Some of those kids were good. These 16-year-olds are evolving, man. I'm telling you. When I was 16, I was still playing in the dirt. These kids are just like, it's unreal.
Yeah, okay. Well, Chip, we know that when the heat strikes, James has to go out and pick on 16-year-olds. So, okay. We don't.
Right.
Should we tell them, Chip, that they were really 12?
I was actually talking trash to high schoolers. It got out of hand. It did. I at one point I was like, all right, man, you're an adult. Like, you gotta pay attention.
Oh, well, this starts off Friday's Finest in a great way. Well, if that going well, we got to at least jump in one of this first story. Maury Povich is coming out of retirement. And this is he's doing a DNA test to see Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey are brothers.
I don't know if it's a guarantee he said he would come out of retirement to do the test.
The world needs Maury. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
No,
Maury,
the world needs to know that. The world needs to know that Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are brothers. That's more of the thing here. Yeah.
Well, supposedly there was a story about a few weeks ago that they had actually done some kind of preliminary like genealogy or either some kind of and showed that they actually could be related.
Well, I think we're about to find out, right?
And here's the envelope. Here we go.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, like they won't run off the stage in excitement when they find out they're not the baby daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
I told you I wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, Chip, I have you a question here. James is the although we know he picks on 16-year-olds in outdoor basketball, but James is our younger brethren here. You and I, the older brethren. I have a theory here that probably the world started going to hell in a handbasket pretty quick with Maury Povich and the other shows, Jerry Springer and the rest. And it's just sort of led into what we've seen this week on Capitol Hill.
Oh God, that's quite the lead-in. Well, it did. I mean, all those talk shows did kind of lead into the beginning of reality television, and I don't know of any other appropriate way to describe the activities of Capitol Hill, specifically on the House side, than reality television. I mean, it was a roller coaster this week, and I don't know that next week's going to be a whole lot different.
No, it's interesting we say that, and we sort of laugh about the Jerry Springer Maury Povich, but in some ways though it's not a bad off analogy for where we've come to with reality shows, with the issue of and it was just getting started. When you and I started 10, 12 years ago, it was just really the Facebook was there, the Twitter was just starting, Instagram wasn't even really around, and it was interesting to see how what was once reserved for like daytime TV or nighttime, if you took Survivor or The Bachelor, which we're not even going to get on The Bachelor. I think that is okay. If you like The Bachelor, please just love the Doug Collins podcast, like and subscribe. But The Bachelor is not going to be discussed here in a fine way. Let's just put it that way.
Wait a minute. I have to interrupt you there because you brought up age just a minute ago.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I believe, was the beginning of the Golden Bachelor. The 70-year-old bachelor. I mean, that brings into a new level for, people who are, we're not quite there, Doug. We have another, It doesn't seem like we got that long to go, but easy now. The Golden Bachelor is going to bring in a whole new generation of viewers.
Oh yeah, the brothel has turned 70. Yes, I'm so happy. Dear God, when. Yeah, and okay, James, I notice you're being extremely quiet here, but I mean, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I mean, we got Chip and I got friends who watch this that we won't mention their names on air right now. They're actually traveling overseas, but that watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and actually watch this stuff. I got friends that's like, why are you doing this?
Have you watched it?
Yes, enough to know that I was mistaken and had to go ask forgiveness for 15 minutes afterwards.
All right, some people it's not for them, but hear me out.
Hear you out.
I don't watch it. I don't actually watch it. but I've been in the room with people who love it, and that in itself is an experience. Now, the show is, listen, you don't have to be, we all know it's a terrible show, right? All of them. And now that I know that there's a Golden Girls version of it, it's hilarious. Betty White dies, and this is what they let out.
They bring the Golden Bachelor. Betty White's dead. There's no Golden Girl.
I've been in the room with people who are like attached to it. It's the same thing. I know it's not the same show, but like that. You guys heard of Vanderpump Rules? You guys know that show?
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, like people live for it, and it's the same way I wake up on Sundays thinking the Vikings are going to win a game. I think this is how they feel. They're like, oh, my person's going to make it, or this like that drama is real to them, but we all know it's nonsense.
Yeah.
But I get the addiction to it completely. It is nonsense, though. I agree with you on that level.
Okay. We'll take that and run.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you, but like I totally get how people can get addicted to it.
Did you see the way Carla looked at Chris last night, and then they went to the room together? It's like, I mean, what are we back in 8th grade playing spin the bottle, and y'all got to go to the closet to kiss? I mean, what? I mean, never.
That was a great time. Do you remember that time? That was fantastic.
Yeah, they're living vicariously. That's right. That's exactly
right.
What
That's the thing.
Right. They're going back in time.
I knew that I was having. I mean, I didn't. Chip, I'm glad you brought up the Golden Bachelor because I was bringing this up. We were watching sports or something the other night, one of the games, and they brought a preview up of the Golden Bachelor. Okay, and they did, and he's talking to his grown kids about this. He's got 3 grown kids. Okay. I just want to find somebody that I can find love. And I don't know his backstory. His wife may have passed away. I'm being very honest here. I don't know his backstory. I don't really want to know his backstory.
Doesn't matter. He's sold out.
But it was like, really? But it does play this as we go forward here. It does play into this fact that politics is no longer – it's always been a public thing, but when we talk about this, and because we're going to get into Deion Sanders, we're going to get into the definitely today. I want to talk about for a minute before Chip gets gone, especially the Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields. Did y'all see that clip where they had both of them together when they were asked about something that went wrong? Kirk Cousins took the on Justin Jefferson fumble, and Justin Fields threw the offensive coordinator under the bus. I mean, is this where we're heading? I mean, is there an off-ramp here?
Chip, you can answer this, but I agree with Justin Fields here on this one. I know it's crazy, and I'll get into it, but if you want to go first.
Yeah, look, I think what we're all, in case any of the listeners don't know, I mean, Justin Fields, if anybody's watched the Chicago Bears play this year, Justin Fields, it doesn't look like he's a mobile quarterback. He's staying into the pocket. And I think, and he was asked a question in his press conference, forget what the exact question was, but it was somewhere along the lines of, why are you, it looks like you're more limited this year. Basically, is there any problems? Do you have any injuries? What do you attribute to that? And and Justin Fields' response was coaching. And I think Justin Fields probably after he gave that answer, the next day came back and cleaned it up a little bit. I think the reality is, James, is the coaches are just trying to make sure that he is you're a quarterback and you should look to be mobile into the pocket, step up to the pocket, but you should look for the open receiver first. And if nothing's available, use your feet and the skills you have to get out and get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, maybe 10 or 12 yards. But it didn't come off that way. Look, Justin Fields is still, we forget. I mean, he's still young. He's still a kid. Yeah. I think he's going to get it going. I think he's going to be a good quarterback in this league. And I think he did a really good job the day after coming back and kind of cleaning that up.
Yeah. Well, in disclosure, too, he's a Marietta kid, isn't he? He's married.
Yes, he's in fact where I am right now in my house in Marietta, Doug. The house that Justin Fields grew up in is only about 5 miles away. He went to Harrison High School. His dad was an Atlanta police officer. His sister actually is on the University of Georgia softball team. They're a really good family, and he's a good kid. So I'm cheering for him. I hope he does well.
Well, it is. James, catch in, and then I want to make a comment about that.
Well, it's just, I think the thing is, like, they ran one run play for him. That's like having a winning racehorse and putting him on the sidelines. Am I wrong? Like, I know he's struggling to throw the ball, and he's not seeing the field well, and we made fun of him for it, as well we should. You can make fun of people for not playing well. That's how sports works.
But it's worse than that.
Killing him.
Yeah, it's worse than that, James. It's not only that they only had one running play for him, it's that they're telling him to stay in the pocket.
Yeah.
There's nothing to throw it away.
Let him make the play.
Yeah, if you got a skill set like he's got, let him use it.
He's too good at football to not allow him to just go free. And I know that Kirk Cousins did the right thing. Justin Fields did the wrong thing by blaming his coaches to the public. But we're not dumb. We all know it's his coach's fault. And he just said it out loud. He said the quiet part out loud. He's a kid. Yeah. I might have done the same thing when I was 24, 25.
Well, Chicago has enough problems as it is right now. I mean, among other things with coaches. Okay, not sure where that's going, but no. Go back to Justin for a second, and I look. It is frustrating, but we do this, and this is where James and I have gotten into this argument many times before. I am tired. It just gets frustrating to take these kids and blow them up to bigger than they are coming to the NFL. I mean, this week, guess 100%. Who's sitting out? Guess who's finally on the bench in Carolina? Okay, they're putting Bryce Young on the bench. Bad ankle, but I mean, because he's getting killed. I mean, they don't have an offensive line. Remember, Chip, you're an Atlanta boy like me. Think about how many times we would draft number one. We'd get a quarterback who had no offensive line, and like Steve Bartkowski, who was probably the one of the first prototypical, oh my God, he's got every feature in the world of a quarterback. And within the first 2 years, we broke both his knees. I mean, it's crazy.
It happens all the time. As an Atlanta Falcons fan, it's all too, it's all too local. Yeah, you got to, if you're going to invest in these quarterbacks, you have to invest in protection for the quarterbacks.
Joe Burrow right now.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow. Think about it. Anthony Richardson's decided to run, but they've been talking about the decline of offensive linemen for years now because of the systems that they're running in college.
Yeah.
I don't know. Joe Burrow is right now the prime example of what might happen, but Andrew Luck, and we can get into the funny thing about Andrew Luck last night, but he is the example. They beat him up. They let him get hit on almost every play. And I know he made some of his own decisions. He hurt himself a couple of times, no question. But he's a winner. And they should have spent every dollar humanly possible. They should have said, we'll figure out every other position, but we are going to spend every dollar, we're going to spend every draft pick, making sure that you are surrounded by bubble wrap and nothing can touch you.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that, and he had to retire in 7 years, 8 years?
Oh, yeah. Well, Joe Burrow is an interesting example. I mean, because Joe Burrow spent more time on his back and more time on the ground. I mean, there was some funny comments coming out, a couple years ago. I mean, he was eating salad. I mean, it was just because he was eating grass every play, it seemed like. And now it does seem like it's catching up to him. I mean, you can't just.
He might not play this week.
No, he's out.
He might not play for the next 4 weeks, guys. I mean, he literally, I mean, I think they might have to put him on injured reserve. I mean, with an injury like that, you got to remember the first day of camp.
Yep.
He injured that calf.
Yep.
And camp was 5 weeks. And he comes back in week 2 and injures it again. So it clearly didn't heal. Right. No. So I mean, he could miss 4 to 6 weeks with that heel. So 100%.
Well, it is, and I think this is again the concern that you have in so much of this stuff as you look at these players and you get into it. But I want to bring this back. As we do often on Friday's Finest, we take full circles and go back to the issue here of we see it in sports, we see it pushed, we see it in reality TV, and now we see it in the halls of Congress. And Chip, you've been there before, like me. You've been a chief. You've been on the Hill. I was in D.C. for most of this week. I had some New York stuff, and I did some been to D.C. to do some work. And I'm getting texts. I mean, my phone is blowing up from members, especially on our side, that are just saying this is a crap show. This is, I had one member. This was the exact text. In a sense, it was just a member who said, he said, how do you win when you got 5 of your members who will vote with 210 Democrats?
Yeah, it in some ways, when we saw what happened in January, this was kind of inevitable. And you'll have to excuse me. I've got 2 Chihuahuas, and it looks like the Amazon man is here to deliver his daily set of boxes to the house. But that being said, yeah, I mean, Doug. I mean, you served in Congress. You certainly understand this dynamic. I mean, what in the world? I mean, what's the exit strategy here, right? I mean, how do we get out of this? I don't see any way that we don't shut down. And then after that happens, how do we go ahead and open back up? And it's not beyond the realm of possibility that Matt Gaetz ends up, calling a vote to vacate the chair. And then how does that go? And it does. It just looks like excuse my language, it looks like a shit show.
Oh, it is. Well, here's the interesting part now. It was really interesting, and you don't know if McCarthy is playing, and you and I both have known Kevin for years, okay? And you actually knew Kevin before I did, and you worked with him with Lynn and the original Young Guns and everything else. Kevin has a way of landing on his feet. After a while, though, there's only 7 lives to even a cat. And this is how, but interestingly enough, last night, after he basically just quit because they couldn't get again, one of Marjorie Taylor Greene and another one actually took the place of 2 others who voted no. So you couldn't get the DOD approach bill up. So undoubtedly, the stories that I've been hearing, and it's been confirmed a little bit in the media as well, Gaetz has went to them now with, again, 4 days left basically in the Senate. And they're going to start taking up individual appropriations bills again. Okay. Never be reminded that they actually couldn't put one on the floor in July for ag approps, which is one they're trying to put on now. And they're going to try to go this single route. He's saying that the CR and trying to do a CR and then do the single bills gives them no leverage, and that the Senate will just, push the CR. I'm wondering, is in this case, and I'm just thinking out loud, is McCarthy saying, okay, fine, you've waited this long to even bring this up, try this. And then the question, because we already saw Schumer yesterday tee up a CR, and he's already took but it's also good. I have to give Kevin McCarthy credit on one thing. People, this is inside baseball. It's so inside baseball. This is in the draft room. I mean, this is so far. They passed MilCon, which is a military construction bill, back in July. But it's my understanding Kevin, the speaker, never transmitted it to the Senate. And
I didn't know that.
No,
yeah.
He didn't transmit it to the Senate because, see, for the Senate to jam the House, they had to have an approps bill, a revenue bill, to sign on. So what they're doing, and I wondered why was Kevin not sending MilCon over? And I'd heard this at the end of July, and I sort of forgot about it. Now it's becoming more and more of an issue because he's having to take the FAA reauth, which the House sent over, which was an amended to the omnibus from last year. I mean, you're talking about, again, parliamentary tricks here. That's how Schumer is forming a CR to send back next week at some point to the House and sort of dare Republicans and Democrats not to vote for it. But if
Kevin, go ahead.
No, I just want to say, if he'd have sent MilCon over, he could have just used the MilCon bill. He can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kevin has always had success at landing on his feet. And when he went through the speaker's vote in January, that whole process, right? Actually it was December. Well, it was early January. Well, I can't even keep up. It was early January. That was a fight to determine, who was Speaker of the House without having any specific debate on any appropriations bill or any type of policy. What's going on right now is a proxy of that, right? I mean, the Matt Gaetzes of the world knew in January that there would be a time in the future this year, and I think we all thought it would probably happen before September, when this would be going on. And so, in some ways, many of those holdouts in the speaker's vote have succeeded, but now there's a specific, I guess we call it the CR, legislative vehicle, right? Yeah. It's really a funding mechanism and et cetera. And now all of a sudden, I'm not in that room, and we hear bits and pieces of what happens in that room for, with these caucus fights, but you can only imagine the discussions.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot what member of Congress it was. It was a member from New York who I didn't recognize, had a beard and such, but just came out and gave an interview, I think, to Manu Raju at CNN, and said, look, there's what bothers me about it, Doug, is that there's no I don't mind fighting, and I don't even mind shutting down the government.
Yeah.
And I know, you've been, you don't want to do that. History tells us we really don't end up on the right side of that. It hasn't worked out for us, over time. But what at the end of the day are we really going to get out of this? If we're going to get something out of it, let's go ahead and do it. Yeah. But I don't know that those 5, 6, 7 people that are kind of holding this up have have a vision of what a victory could look like, right? I mean, what if we go through this process and we spend this political capital, we're going to be better 2 weeks from now because of X or Y. I don't know that they can answer those questions. And I think that's the reason there's people in there that are willing to fight with them. Yeah. They just don't know where this fight is going, if that makes sense.
And I think that's your issue here. And look, I was up in the newsroom yesterday. We're getting ready for a news hit, and we got into this discussion offline with one of a member that it was not a member, it was a former administration official, and some reporters, and I'll just keep it very top line. But the issue was, well, at least they're fighting. And I said, I don't disagree with the fight. I don't disagree with the long-term goal. I don't disagree. But number one, where were they at in May, shutting down the House in May and June for Kevin to bring these approach bills to the floor? They wasn't doing it back then. They've waited till now. And so now, and also the other thing that I said I'm frustrated a little bit with is, and I know it's not completely, but they're leading with their final offer. You don't ever lead with your final offer. If you go to the media and you say, I'm not voting for anything except 1.247 trillion, then where do you negotiate from there? And in policy, some people aren't going to stand, well, we got this, we've got this immigration policy, and so I'll vote for it now. But you said 1.47, and now this is 1.62. Again, I support that you got to get in this spending effort. But really, they should have started – fairly, look, Kevin wouldn't want to hear this, neither would Steve or anybody else. But if you're really going to start forcing this issue, it should have started in May. You shut the floor down in May and say, Kay Granger, you're the approach chair. Get these bills to the floor. And then we have the fight.
That's exactly right.
And then you have the fight. Then you send them over to the Senate. Imagine the position the House would be in right now if they had passed even half or more of the approach bills and sitting them in the Senate right now. Then they could
that's right.
They could do a mini Omni. They could do a mini, and get those off the table so those aren't shut down. But it goes back to, again, waiting to this time and then taking, like you said, the anger of January and is now manifested itself. And
it's hard. Look. And it's, you've been through previous government shutdowns. And, even though I don't know that we as Republicans ended up, kind of winning a lot of those arguments, we at least laid the foundation to have an argument and a very strong argument about, why the Democrats were shutting down the government. That doesn't exist this time, right? This is the first government shutdown, and I think we're headed towards that. It certainly looks like it, where we really can't blame the Democrats.
Well, no,
it's going to be impossible.
Well, you can't. Well, and here's the other thing too, and as we delve into this just a little bit more, is this. Think about this. We shut down in October of 2013. Again, very similar situation here, okay? But it had been building on Obamacare for 4.5 years, okay? The promise to do away with Obamacare, October 13th was the implementing month. It was. I mean, you could, if there was ever a way for Republicans to frame a shutdown, it was then. We went 16 days, and in the words of Eric Cantor, on the day before we shut it down, he said, "Look, let's go for it. I'll shut it down with you." He said, "But I'm going to tell you right here. Here's the piece of paper that you got in your hand. It'll either be this or worse when it comes back then." And guess what? It was worse. And so, and we couldn't make the argument then on Obamacare. And it's just, so I agree with you. I'm sympathetic to the argument. I want it to happen, but you've got to get back in control of making, the plan earlier, getting the bills early. And at some point in time, 218 people on the majority side in the United States House have to agree, I will vote for something.
Yeah.
And if you can't get that number, I say this all the time, Chip. I know you and James, you've heard me say it a bunch. No, the Republicans in the House cannot blame Hakeem Jeffries. They can't.
No.
This is any vote in the House.
Not with a straight face.
Yeah,
not with a straight face.
No. This is completely on the majority in the House. Now, Senate's a little bit different because there's some cloture stuff, but the House is pure majority. If you can't do it in the majority, it's your fault, period, end of sentence. No else you can say about it.
Yeah, Doug, and I mean, how many times have you and your colleagues, your former colleagues and the current members of Congress, had constituents come up to Washington, D.C., or you meet with constituents in your district office, and you explain to them the intricacies of, 218 being a numbers game, right? I mean, I've heard you say it many times, all right, we're at 212. All right, what do we need to do to this piece of legislation to get 6 votes? Yep. Okay, great. Well, we're going to add this sweetener. This gets us 6 votes. Okay, great. Well, it got us 6 votes, but it lost us 3.
Yeah.
So we're still at 260. We're still not where we need to get to. And so, people, a lot of people don't realize what a numbers game it is, because it's not, okay, we're just going to do this one thing and then we're going to be fine, because that one thing might get you votes. It might get you 6, but it might lose you 8.
Oh, exactly.
And then you're worse than you were before you cut that deal. So it's a really tough position to be in if you're Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, yeah. And right now, I've said this before, it's the who wants to be speaker? I told him, I said, call me. I'll be speaker till the end of this Congress. All I will do is say, y'all fight it out. If y'all want it to the floor, I will put it on the floor. Democrats, you'll get a fair shake. I promise. But just do away with this, because right now nobody wants the job. Literally, nobody wants the job.
Nobody wants.
And it's and you're right about those numbers games, and that's the way it is. It just plays out that you've got the, and then it just breeds worse feelings as you're going forward. And to think, again, it's just, having been there, history is a great teller of a future. And to say that you're going to get a CR and then do these, all of a sudden you're going to do something in a month you haven't been able to do in 9, to get all these bills out that are going to be at numbers the Senate's not going to accept, and then to try and reconcile all of that. It's nice to think about that, but there's also just reality that has to kick in as well. There's just not enough time.
That's right.
And easy to do it. So
that's right.
Anyway, we got that. Well, before I know, because today you may have to get out with us, I want to jump on into some football. Supposedly, I love how the commentators are saying, "Oh, this is the best week of football so far. Yay." James, wake back up. We've lost.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I couldn't get my mute button on work. I'm sorry, but I'm awake.
Yeah, James is going at it here. Yeah, James is looking for the next playground basketball game to pick up here.
I'll fight a kid again. Don't worry about
it. Here we go. All right, now James, how did we do last week? How was our overall?
Well, I was talking to Chip about this. It wasn't great. It was
a mixed bag.
Mixed bag. Okay.
Yeah. I have. Hold on. I think I got it. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So. Let's see. So with Minnesota, who won the Minnesota game? Do we know? I'm sorry, I didn't see that one.
It wasn't.
You mean on overall or with the spread?
I think we were. I don't remember if we were doing spread or overall. I did not write that part down, but I think
Eagles beat the Vikings by 6.
No. I think we were talking about college in that one.
Yeah, hang on a second. I'll pick it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you said Minnesota. I'm thinking Vikings.
No, I remember that game pretty vividly.
Yeah, that wasn't pretty.
Can I just take a moment? Can we stop? Can we just let Can we just trade everybody but Justin Jefferson? Can somebody call up Quessy and be like, hey, it's all going downhill. The season's over.
Yeah, but you remember though, James, didn't the Vikings lose their first 2 games last year, and then they strung off, 11, 12 out of 13?
I don't remember. I don't know if they lost their first 2 last year.
I think they did, if I
Am I
recall.
missing? Am I not remembering that right?
Until week 12. Second loss wasn't until week 12 for Minnesota.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like a crazy year. I think we lost the first game.
Okay.
Right? No. We won the first game against Green Bay. No, I remember because I was at a crazy bar. We won the first game against Green Bay. Then we lost the second game. Then we went on a very stupid, silly run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. So maybe the Vikings are just late bloomers.
But yeah, I'm with you. All right, so we got – I don't know.
North Carolina beat Minnesota 31-13.
I think Chip picked Colorado State for some reason with a lot of confidence, but they ended up covering, I think, so it doesn't matter, right?
Got that one. Yeah, by the way, Minnesota 31-13, Minnesota got beat against Carolina.
Okay, so did I pick that team game correctly? I did. All right.
Okay, 16.
Let's see. I'm going to be real ridiculous about this. All right, so then we have Tennessee so who won? Tennessee or the Gators? I didn't see that one either.
Florida
beat Tennessee.
So that one. Congratulations. You're better than
they just running the line and everything else. Yeah.
And I don't think I have. And I'm 95% sure that the dogs that the SC didn't cover.
We didn't cover. Georgia didn't.
Oh no, the dogs didn't cover.
What?
Oh yeah, it was ugly, man. It was the Bulldog fans are not happy with the product that was on the field.
No, it was ugly. It was 24-14. In fact, we were down 14-3 at halftime.
Oh, that's right. Because I I was going to text you. Are you panicking? And then I turned the thing back. Then I turned the game back on, and it was 24-14.
Well, I will say this, Chip, and let's think about it in Georgia for just a second. Let's touch on this because it was almost like the Ohio State game and the Missouri game last year for me. And I know others may not be this way, but I never felt like we were going to lose. I felt like we were playing bad. But I felt at some point we were going to pull it out. I was at the Ohio State game, but the Missouri game, watching it on TV. Now I admit, toward the end of the fourth quarter, I was saying, okay, but it was always like, okay, something's going to click on here, and we're going to win this thing. And when they came out in the second half, the second half was the Georgia team that everybody sort of expects a little bit.
Yeah. Look, I've told you this, and I've said this on this show. It's hard to eat when you're full.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
You can't force food down your throat when you're full. And let's face it, Georgia's won the last 2 national titles. I mean, when was the last time a program went back to back to back?
It's hard not to get complacent. It's got to be hard not to get complacent. That's why you never see. That's why these are so rare.
But speaking of last week, and I think this is a conversation we're going to have about mid-season. We're going to set aside a day to talk the impact of portal and NIL because Florida State scrounged by Boston College, and I've got an early prediction. We're not there yet. Clemson beats Florida State this weekend.
Ooh.
Clemson beats Florida State.
Look at you. Even though the Clemson Tigers are dead. Okay.
I'm stepping out on a limb. But also, if I would have told you, Chip, James, if I'd have told y'all last week that Alabama would win at South Florida 17-3, would you have believed me?
No, I mean, look, I think I said last week on the show, I truly believe that the Alabama dynasty is over. That being said, I would have taken Alabama to cover against South Florida. It is. I mean, it's, look, they had a good 15, 16-year run, but, now they're just a good team now. They're not, they're not the dominant team that they've been.
They don't have a quarterback,
you look,
right?
Yeah,
it's kind of as simple as that.
They don't have a quarterback.
Not that the rest of the team is.
We got, for all of those, so looking back, we were a mixed bag. We'll do better this week because this is supposedly the big week for football. Now, for Georgia fans, we got UAB. Nobody cares. But the question is, here's you one, just a sheer cover bet. Does Georgia cover 42.5 against UAB?
No.
James says no. What about you?
I'm going to say I'm going to say no as well. That's a lot of points.
They could
That's
stop.
a lot of
They
points.
can go up by 30 and just stop.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say they cover because last week at halftime, Kirby, I've heard this reports, it got reported in the media, Kirby wanted to absolutely rip them a new life at halftime and was told going in, no, just bear with them. And then he came up with this great speech. If you've not seen it, I'll forward it. We may include it here on the time. About moment by moment, win the moment 6 times. What's the first moment? The kickoff return. What's the second moment? The first play. And then they came out, like I said, the defense was lights out. By the way, shout out to Dan Jackson. Chip knows Joe Jackson, one of my best friends in life. Dan pulled the interception. Dan, walk on, always a walk on. Has played now in 2 national titles. I mean, just an amazing kid. But they came back and played. So I think they cover. So there's another pick. All right, let's go to some picks here. Ole Miss, Alabama. And I know this is going to be interesting. It's a 6.5, Alabama 6.5 favorite.
Oh, you know what? They'll cover. I know Ole Miss got a hell of an offense, but they'll cover 6.5. It's a touchdown.
I'm with James. I think Bama wins by a touchdown or 10 points. I think they get it together, especially after that lackluster performance last week, and I think they do.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have an all 3 here on that one. Let's go. Okay, I've already put my pick out there, and it's a 2-point favorite. FSU, Clemson, FSU.
Look, I am. I've watched Clemson play twice this year, and look, as poor as Florida State looked last week, I'm going to take Florida State. I mean, I'm going to take the Seminoles. I just think Clemson might have 3 or 4 losses this year, and I think the Seminoles roll.
The Deion Sanders train has moved them to 3-0. However, they roll into Eugene this weekend, and it's Colorado, Oregon, and Oregon is Colorado is a 21-point dog.
Colorado's going to cover, and dare I say it, they're going to win this game. The Deion Sanders train will never end.
Well, Colorado covers, but it's going to be Colorado covers, but it's going to be close to the it'll be close to the spread. So I think Oregon by 17.
All right, I'll take. I think Colorado would cover. I'll take Colorado simply to cover, but I do think it's going to be about. I do think it ends this week. I think I'd be Oregon by 14.
But imagine
because if Travis Hunter was healthy, I might have a different.
I'm telling you.
I might have a different say. But with a lacerated liver and Travis Hunter out.
Is that what it's
guys, imagine if they win.
Is that
just
what
imagine if?
Is?
Yeah. Sorry, Doug. Go ahead.
The lacerated liver. Is that what his injury is?
Lacerated liver.
I never heard.
Because he's out for at least 3 weeks, right? They said at least 3 weeks.
3 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
Man, I feel bad for that kid getting those death threats. So listen.
Yeah, he shouldn't have done that.
The hit was dirty. We're not blind, but man,
but aren't you amazed the way Deion's handled that this week?
I'm not amazed by anything he does anymore. I think this man was a born genius, and he continues to be one. I'm serious. I don't think anyone has ever handled anything better in sports in at least the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, he's
exceeded my expectations. I've always been a fan, but wow, he's really handled himself.
If they're 4-0 going into USC,
yeah. Oh wow.
I genuinely believe that I think USC would probably win that game. But
that's the one I think they beat USC. I think they lose to Oregon, but I think they beat USC. I think USC,
Caleb Williams is
USC and their coach and stuff are paper tigers. Period. End of story.
Fair enough.
Oregon State, Washington State. Nobody really cares anymore about Wazoo and Oregon State except they're 14-21 in the country. Both 3-0. Oregon State's the 3-point favorite.
Give me Washington.
Where's the game? Where's the game at?
In Washington State. It's in Pullman.
I'm taking the home team, and the winner will be in first place in the Pac-4.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm gonna take. I think I'm gonna go Oregon State there. I think Ungale is just. I mean, it's set up out there. He can actually throw. I'm gonna take Oregon State and give the 3. James.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking Washington State for sure.
All right, the one game that is going to be everybody talking about, and frankly, I don't care one iota for, Ohio State, Notre Dame. The battle of the overrateds.
Oh, no, not overrated. Notre Dame's taking this one. Don't get it twisted. Their quarterback is too handsome to lose games.
Overrated.
Well, look, I mean, who's not overrated this year, Doug? I gotta jump off after I make this pick, but I mean, that you can make an argument for 8 teams to be in the top 3, maybe 9 teams. I mean, when was the last time that happened, right? Where Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State didn't look completely invincible. So, unfortunately, I have to run after this pick. But I will say, I am going to predict this week is going to be Marcus Freeman's coming out party, and I think Notre Dame and Sam Hartman put it on Ohio State. And so my bet this weekend is on the green. It's on the Irish.
James?
Oh, it's the Irish all the way.
I look. This is the least of the two. My least of my least favorite. My friend of my enemy of my friend is my enemy. What is it? Enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm going Notre Dame.
All right.
Well, and I got to run, but before I do, Doug, the Auburn Tigers are going to cover 17 at College Station. So you watch. We're going to be competitive this weekend on the road. We're not going to win. We're not going to win, but we're going to be competitive.
Be a real fan,
so, I appreciate y'all having me on. I enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time. Everybody, Chip Lake, we're going to have it. All right, James, great to see Chip today. I got one more for you and I. We're going to pick Iowa, Penn State. I'm going to pick the upset here. I'm going to take the 14.5 in Iowa.
Is it in Iowa?
I think it is.
Because if I see that sea of 110,000 white T-shirts.
It's in Happy Valley. It's in Beaver Stadium. I still think they cover. I look.
All right, I'm going to take Penn State.
Okay, because Penn State, to me, I mean, Franklin, they're always the bridesmaid here on this thing.
That's right.
But that was it. But before we get going, it's always great to have Chip and talking politics and everything else. Though we got one more discussion point because we're going to, folks, if you've not seen what we're going to add to the podcast, you've got to go to the video part of the podcast today and see this. Last Sunday, and this is bad, but a Marine pilot who is fine, he ejected from his F-35. F-35 is one of our Gen 5 fighters, and it's stealth. It's very hard. It's one of the best planes in the world. And something happened. Okay, now there's a lot of discussion on what may have happened from being hacked, which is a not been discounted possibility, to some mechanical difficulties. Anyway, the pilot ejected. There's a second man in the formation, which we've yet to figure out why he didn't follow along. But when he ejected, the plane was either in autopilot mode but kept flying. All right, if you've not heard this story, you may have. But anyway, on Monday, almost several hours after this happened, the military at Jacksonville, Joint Base Charleston, put out a public message saying we've lost a plane. If you see an F-35 or if you've crashed or whatever, please get in contact with us. This started the funniest chain of events. I mean, if you were watching internet, I mean the social media this week, there were pictures of F-35s on milk cartons. It was freaking hilarious. Okay. Oh, so many questions here. We'll get on one of our hard day shows, Monday or Wednesday. We'll get into this a little bit deeper. I just want to say, though, this morning, before we taped here on Friday, I was flying back from D.C. I got back into Atlanta early, and we got to the podcast, and I saw a social media clip that we're getting ready to play for you. James is getting ready to – we're going to put this in. It made my day. James, have you watched it?
I have. I'm going to play it right now. Hold on 1 second.
Screeching a whistle. And I heard a screeching sounded between a screech and a whistle. I said, what in the world is this? And I heard a boom. And I heard a screeching
I can't, Doug.
And folks, if you got to see this, the reason you need to go to Rumble and see this, go to YouTube and see this, or wherever you get, or Spotify, wherever you get your video part of this, you got to go see it, because then it takes, from those of us in the Air Force, our grounds crew is some of the best in the world, and they show off in this video. And these are all real, they were not,
you got to watch
AI. This is real clips of some of our guys. You got to go see it, folks. It is hilarious. You will be crying. I sent it to a lot of my Air Force buddies this morning. They were crying. It was that funny as we go forward. But anyway, James, we're at the fabulous week 4 of the college football season. We didn't get into pros this week. I'm just.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
How do you feel about your Atlanta Falcons knowing that Desmond Ridder is your quarterback and you have all that talent surrounding him?
I'm just overwhelmingly shocked that we're 2-0.
Arthur Smith is your worst nightmare if you're a fantasy football owner and you don't have a running back.
Yep.
But you can't have all that talent and not throw the football. I know that Bijan Robinson, who is everything is advertised.
I don't disagree there.
That kid looks like Adrian Peterson. Like he's got that kind of motor. But yeah, that's man. That kid is not a good football player. I know we talked about. I like Desmond Ridder. He's a good dude, but
he's in the wrong spot for where it's at. And then you got Algiers, who's running like a madman because he's wanting to prove that he's still. Yeah. So I mean, look,
easily the best 1-2 punch in football.
If you're fantasy league right now and you don't have Bijan Robinson or you don't have Algiers out of Atlanta in the backfield, you're leaving points on the table, folks. I'm telling you. You got to be a part of that. But also, James, let's talk about though. Before we get going, Nick Chubb. I've watched him since the first day he stepped on the field at Georgia.
Man,
thick injury. Again, you don't want to see that ever. Prayers for him on hopefully a recovery.
Sure.
Same leg knee he broke before. This could be catastrophic, and I would hate that for Nick Chubb.
It was heartbreaking to see that.
It was as you go forward. And, and just seeing what we've seen so far. Maybe next Friday we'll get into it. Maybe with Chip, we'll get into this artificial natural grass thing. And we got it.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about it. It's not going away anytime soon.
No.
So
also next week, we hadn't all planned this out yet, but there's a possibility that we may have another edition in studio with me for next week. My eldest son, my middle child, but my eldest son is getting married next Saturday. And so they'll be back. He lives, for those of you who know, we've talked about this before, he lives in Florida. But they're going to be back getting ready for the wedding. He's going to be here with us. So maybe Copeland will join us for the Friday's Finest along with Chip and James. And we'll just have
You want to do a podcast at the wedding?
No, we're not going to podcast the wedding. No, that
live from the wedding.
Yeah, live from the wedding. Lisa is only letting me get away with so much at this point, and if you knew what my house looked like right now, James, with wedding stuff, it is.
I'd rather not.
No, you don't really want to know. Miss Lisa's she is amazing, but next week's going to be sort of chaotic. But folks, this is why we have this, and also thanks for all your support giving in. I get a lot of text, I get a lot of emails from you, and. Everything from me running for governor and everybody else. I just say, hey, wait, we still got a little bit of time, so keep them coming. I appreciate your support. But also on our shows this week, we've gotten some really good feedback on our especially the economy. Talking about just basic stuff that young people need to know about the economy. We got some great feedback on that. And again, some amazing, some feedback as well on our DNA show and how we're actually going about that. So, folks, keep it up. Subscribe to the Doug Collins podcast. I still run across people who didn't know we have the podcast, or they only heard it briefly, didn't know they should subscribe. Go to wherever you get your podcast and just hit subscribe, and then it'll come to your inbox on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You'll be caught up with us, and we'd love to have you continue to be a part of the Doug Collins podcast family. But with that, James, I think we're out of here.
We certainly are. Enjoy the football weekend, people.
All right. We'll see you next time on the Doug Collins podcast.